Welcome to the Unorthodox Film Podcast, where we discuss movies that meet specific genres, topics, or scenarios, and we recommend movies that we enjoy in hopes that we introduce our listeners to movies that they haven't seen or heard of. With our guests, we discuss movies that we have seen before and engage in conversation based on our memory and recollection of our enjoyment of those titles. At the end of each episode, we roll a dice and select one of the recommended titles to watch together. We will then discuss that film on our next episode with fresh eyes and determine whether the film holds up, as well as explore the film in a more detailed and critical discussion. Hello, everyone. I am Bradford Clark, and with me is my co-host, Joseph Quick.
What's up, y'all?
So today we are in the studio by ourselves. It is crickets.
Yeah, just the two of us, baby.
But we are here today to talk about, well, last week we made recommendations for Man Playing God with Austin Torres, and it was a great episode.
Yeah,
he had a lot of fun.
Austin was a fun guy. So we're doing the one that won that dice roll was Repo, the genetic rock opera. So,
well, it's called
the genetic opera.
The genetic opera.
It's a rock opera.
It is, but it's also part of the plot that there's a genetic opera happening. So.
Yeah, it is.
And then later today, we will be discussing our recommendations for non-MCU superhero movies.
Yeah, not non-Marvel cinematic universe. I'm not saying not Marvel characters,
right?
Just not
within the stated Marvel cinematic universe of things.
Yeah.
So, obligatory, we are going to be starting with Repo, the Genetic Opera, which we did watch on Amazon with limited commercial interruption. I do believe it's also on Tubi and maybe Freevee. It's a couple of the ad-sponsored websites you can check it out. So if you didn't check it out, be wary that this next segment here is going to be full of spoilers because we are going to discuss that movie to great length. And then we will be returning back in to give our list. Today we're going to do 10 so as to not overwhelm ourselves with 6 picks. We're going to do 5 apiece.
Yeah, I got enough on the list if you want.
So then I guess we'll see what happens, to be determined. All right, so Repo, the Genetic Opera. This was
2008.
2008. It was definitely a first full watch for me. The last time, or the only time that I'd seen it, I think somebody was doing my makeup. They were trying to do practice stage makeup, and I was their guinea pig. Right. And they were like, "You can watch the movie while doing it." And then, of course, my eyes are in front of me and my face is also there. And so at most times the artist was in front of me.
Between you and the screen. Yeah.
So the music, there was a lot of music that was very familiar to me. I was like, I've definitely heard this track before, but from no other, they're not radio songs.
Right. Yeah. And it's very descriptive of what's going on as an opera is.
Right.
It's exposition in song. So if you're not watching, you might not even understand what they're talking about.
Sure, yeah.
Especially because some of the people are actually opera singers. The guy who played Roddy.
And Blind Mag.
And Blind Mag, who was Sarah Brightman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, some of these were amazing vocalists. Even, what's his name, who played Giles in...
I think his name is Slayer. Anthony Head or Anthony Hurd.
But he plays
the lead.
doctor, Repo Man. And... He does an amazing job, because he sings in a different tonality when he's
I fucking
the Repo
loved
Man than
him,
he is when he's the father.
His voice was so good.
Yeah,
Paul Sorvino is also he plays the lead bad guy. He's the head of Gene Co.
Roddy.
He is a talented vocalist as well. He has done
opera.
Yeah, legit. But I don't think I heard that from him in this, and that's mostly because of the type of dialogue and maybe his.
The way he was singing was very
I could hear it. There was nothing wrong with it, but it was nowhere near what Anthony Head was doing, where he was just belting it out.
Yeah, well, because I don't think he was opera trained, right? So he was musical theater trained. So he has, maybe more of a stage voice.
Oh, okay, that's possible.
I feel like. Since he wasn't singing in Italian, maybe it was weird for his tongue to hit, because all operas are Italian.
Well, many to most, if not 97%. Yeah. Phantom of the Opera being one of the few. Yeah. I don't know much about
Phantom of the
opera, so I'm
Opera
not
was,
even trying to pretend I do.
That's fair.
The music was really cool. I found it very. It was very catchy.
It had your foot stomping, head bobbing, and they did different genres as well. Like they jumped through. There was a couple that were kind of punky or more rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depended on the maybe the character. Each character, like the Grave Robbers, maybe had a tune to it. The Repo Man had a tune to it because there was some similar themes throughout the songs. You know, that I heard, especially some of the duplicated lyrics. The question. Double response.
Oh yeah.
Surgery. But yeah, man, it was
addicted to the knife. Addicted to the knife.
Yes, yeah, man, it's super catchy. I'll probably look up the songs to listen to them again, and then they'll be permanent earworms.
I don't think about them at all, but like as soon as they come on, I'm singing along. I haven't seen this in years, but. Me and my wife loved it. She introduced me to it, and I fell in love with it. This is because it's so otherworldly. It's so subculture.
Yeah.
And back in 2008 was really the beginning of really having access to more subcultures, like because everything kind of had its own.
Sure, and it was definitely a risk. You could see that it was all done. I mean, I would imagine 100% on studio set.
Yeah, the guy who played the Grave Robber, he was very integral in the making of the whole thing. He was one of the writers, composers, and he took him years to get through the studios and finally get somebody on board that.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. It is not
especially
easy
with him attached
to do a musical at all. And then, I mean, this one was visually stunning. Like for being multi-genre, it picked the expensive parts of the genres. Like it was pretty gory, and there was a lot of really cool special makeup effects.
Yeah, practical special makeup effects.
Each of the different surgeries or thefts,
ripping out the spine, taking the heart, the when
spine.
She gouges her eyes out.
Yes, that was very fluid.
Yeah,
ripping her eyes out. It was
very well done.
You could see that it was early era CGI. I say early era, it was 2008, but like we were still developing, right? It's hard to think about how far back that really was, but that was still super early.
I've recently rewatched Jurassic Park with the wife and the daughter just because we had talked about it. It popped up on Max, and I was like,
right.
And
Go
she
for
went,
it.
yeah, well, I don't want to search for something. We love that movie. Let's show Livy it. Mm-hmm. And she had a great time until the killing started.
Sure,
then
of course.
She wouldn't. I'm gonna go play in my room.
Herself.
Yeah, but it was. Those graphics held up because they were, it's obviously a huge blockbuster movie, and it all revolved around that. But that was what
93.
Yeah, and so I guess it's really like what you're trying to accomplish and how much money and resources you have available to you.
Sure. Yeah, it was subtle. It was the mats, the city, the floating pieces. A lot of that was likely CG or small models comped. But when you saw the flyover into the city was definitely mid 2000s computer graphics, but those that's inconsequential. The stuff that I'm really referring to are within the scene. So you have I found it fascinating the way that Blind Mag's eyes had this constant gear moving, and it was very fluid and very clean.
Yeah, the way I think that was actually in the context.
There was movement and stuff happening in.
Yeah.
So, they're very much
lit up as well. That was definitely the computers.
Yeah. And the glow of the zintride, whatever the chemical was they were stealing from the bodies, that glowed. Like when it was in the vial, it glowed. And that had a little bit of a comped in post look to it as opposed to something that looked more seamless.
We've done where we worked with the luminescent fluid in a vial, and you don't get much reaction. You get enough for you to grab onto
and pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say was the most recent time you'd watched this before now?
Oh, man.
Some years?
Yeah. Pandemic.
Anything... Okay, well, that's not too terribly far. So
4 years ago.
That's still relatively recent, I guess. Anything new that you noticed this time that stood out to you more than previous watches?
I guess just how struggling some of the actors were with, like, because some of the singing was very intricate, where they had to keep time and sing over each other.
Yeah,
and when you're singing with somebody in different styles in character, it can be very hard to not only keep time but keep in tone and note.
Sure.
And I noticed some struggling there. Yeah.
So
because my ear was just everything. There's so much going on that I've never really watched it with this kind of eye.
Because a lot of the music was played within the scene. There was I thought there was a pretty nice variety of dialogue versus sung dialogue. I liked the comic book style interludes
where they would freeze frame
in between each character
for the vignettes and for backstory instead of actually having,
because you can get through that in
so
seconds
much faster, yeah.
and then doing some sort of like fade
and they did it very comic booky, where it was just like 2 or 3
it reminded me of like Creep Show
dialogue that
and
tell the whole story,
succinct, and you got to it. But I liked that. I liked that there was a good amount of mixture between the music and the actual dialogue.
Yeah.
But I did like that there were actual performances as well. You know, that there were actual musical numbers that were not necessarily just conversation, but were enjoyable musical numbers.
They were,
yeah.
Grave Robber.
Right. During those, I did notice, and this is to what you were saying about the singing over and the cross dialogue and such. Specifically, I'm thinking of the grave robber in that first, when Shiloh first meets him in her mother's grave. He was clearly singing to tape, which is fine. That's not a complaint. It's just an observation. So to what you were saying, I think a lot of this was done and performed beforehand, and then there was like a fair amount of rehearsals for the dancing and the blocking and then lip syncing. So I think it's the lip syncing that might
be throwing me off.
Yes,
I really believe that you're right in that, and I know that's actually the case because I remember we have the DVD with all the special features. That's how I know the Grave Robber is associated, because he's like hosts the DVD.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Cool stuff, actually, and so it tells you a lot about it. And Paris Hilton basically had to be given singing lessons, but she was part of the reason the movie got funded. So she had to have a part.
Yeah,
so it's all that contrived Hollywood.
Right, and I don't think she did terrible. I don't know how much post made her not do terrible, but her role just required her to be exactly what she was during that era.
It really was, because even in the movie, she's a horrible singer.
Right, and a horrible person, and who's just all about vanity, and that was the character that she was in the movie. When her
character did get on stage in the movie, she was horribly auto-tuned and overcorrected. You could tell that.
Yeah, and incredibly nervous. That scene was great with her face falling off.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the visual gags. Some of the visual gags were really cool. So the brother, who I didn't catch the name of, but
Pavi, Pavi.
Okay. He's like or ochre or something like that. They have on online as well. But
ochre?
What? Yeah.
Pavi Ochre. Maybe that's his last name. I don't know, because they all had different last names.
Pavi Largo as Ogre.
Ogre. Oh, that was his character he was playing in a show?
Yeah, but the actor's name is Kevin Ogilvie with Ogre, OHGR, in quotes, as if it's a nickname or something. So I don't really know. But my point being, bringing him up, that he was obsessed with replacing his face,
because he had clips on his face, and he would
just swap out the face.
Yeah, just little piercing clips.
Yeah,
it was like
putting, so I guess as a
fresh
quick
sheet
refresher,
of paper on a clipboard.
we're quite a bit into this conversation. If you didn't watch the movie and you have no idea what we're talking about, quick recap of the movie. The world has gotten incredibly sick, and internal organs.
We just jumped into
internal organs are just kind of like dying away until this company, GeneCo, comes in and offers an opportunity to replace the organs, but at a fee. You can credit them, and if you don't make your payments, the repo man will come and take your shit. And
your life. He can kill you.
Our main character is Shiloh, played by Alexa Vega, who I know most from the Spy Kid movie, so it was really cool to see her in an adultish role.
She was 17.
Yeah.
17. And that punk rock Joan Jett song. Literally, Joan Jett comes out with a guitar.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
So she is homebound. Her father is a doctor who supposedly killed her mother on accident while trying and cure her illness. And it was actually...
It wasn't an accident.
It wasn't an accident. There was some nefariousness at play.
Some poison
and
one of his chemicals.
He then Roddy used that tale to grip in Nathan to become his repo man.
Yeah.
And he works off his guilt by collecting the organs. So I think we're caught up there.
Turn the savior man into the monster.
Yeah. And then the grave digger. So grave robbing is super popular because if you die and you've got company property, people go and there's value to it. But there was also this chemical.
So they use Zydrate.
There we go.
For the surgeries. Right, and everybody who dies now has had a surgery because the whole reason for GeneCo, as you were saying, is because there was massive organ failures. Millions were dying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm pretty sure they don't really go into it too much, but Roddy was probably the reason for all that stuff too, because GeneCo just pops up
out of nowhere.
Stuff.
Yeah,
here we go.
Rescue everybody.
Cloned livers right here.
Yeah,
they can rescue everybody. So obviously because every step of this plot, he has a finger in.
Yeah.
So, and as he's dying, he's like, "Who's going to take my place?" The whole world's going to unravel because he's got a dirty
and he's got these three shitty children.
Obviously, because he's a
shitty person.
Right. So all that's going on. So the Zydrate is what they use to put you under for these surgeries. So now everybody has a reservoir of it in their brain, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so the grave robbers
and there's an alternate side effect to it too. People get addicted to it because it's got like a euphoria. It takes away the pain, right?
Yeah,
like
so
many drugs
euphoria,
do.
Yeah.
So,
and obviously the street stuff that comes out of the dead is not as pure, clean,
yeah.
And it's expensive and controlled by GeneCo,
right?
Probably invented by Roddy's scientists or some shit,
Right.
But yeah, that's the whole thing for the grave robber. That's his job, is to reclaim that Zydrate and get it back on the streets. He says in the song, "For every market that's made, a sub-market grows."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
brilliant.
The lyrics and the story is phenomenal. I really enjoyed.
It's a metaphor for economic destruction and corruption.
Yeah, and I enjoyed how it was done because, it's not like it's an original topic to discuss. We talk about capitalism and the failed healthcare system in a lot of different movies.
Yeah.
One of which, what was it, John Q., right, where he literally holds up a hospital. This was a little bit more on a fantastical, fantastical dystopian future / let's put it into horror.
Not too distant future.
Yeah, it was like 2025 or 2056, 2055 or 56.
2056.
Yeah, excuse me. But the character actors that they got in there are fascinating. Bill Moseley as the anger rage son.
Yeah. Shout out at Chop Top Mosley.
I didn't hate dealing with Paris Hilton. I thought the woman who played Blind Mag, Sarah Brightman,
she's amazing.
She's not really an actress. I was looking her up, and she did phenomenal.
She also did. You may know her as the diva Plava Laguna from The Fifth Element.
Fifth Element?
The voice of the diva.
Oh, no kidding.
I don't think she was the actress in the Blue.
Right, but that was her voice? That was her voice. No kidding. Yeah, that's when I looked her up, when I just clicked on her, it's the first thing it said is, world renowned.
Aside from the parts they modulated to make it alien. But that was based. She did all the actual singing for that.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I would like to see more movies like this. To me, it reminded me of like a next level modern Rocky Horror, right? Like, there's no way I could say that it's the same as Rocky Horror. But I think the subculture. Generation. I think the subculture of that era versus the subculture of this era when it was made are very similar and took similar risks. Like, if Rocky Horror didn't take the risks it took, then Repo wouldn't have been able to be as over the top as it was.
I completely can. Yeah, I can concede that point. I can agree with it. I definitely believe that it is like the next step in evolution to that type of musical. Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
kind of like Austin said the last episode that he believed Jurassic Park was the next evolution of
from Frankenstein. Yeah, so sure. I would like to see more evolution of the musical. I really do enjoy musicals, but there seems to be this.
I enjoy a good musical.
Yeah, there seems to be this blinders up in musicals that they have to only be for quote unquote musical fans, which can be a very small demographic of people. So it
There's
makes
a lot of them I don't enjoy because it's just a
not
musical for the sake of being a musical. And
yes. So I would love to. I think we're in an era where it's like with technology and with the growth in arts and things like that, we can start to expand and blend. I would like to see more, different types of stories being sung.
I think you'll see that. You know what I mean? I think the art, just like music has come so far, look at the different variations in the last 100 years. You go back 100 years from now and what they had compared to like just the choices. Like, even if you pick one genre of music to look back at, like 90% of
there weren't subgenres.
They weren't even there. Right?
Yeah, there wasn't enough variance for it to be called a subgenre.
Art, like life, as Jeff Goldblum says, finds a way.
Yeah,
and, if somebody can dream it and they believe in themselves, they will make it. And if people find it, then maybe they will make it. But they're gonna create it. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I look forward to whatever any kind of artistry has to bring. Like, I love seeing the growth of any platform. So.
Yeah, me too. I think that this one is, generally speaking, an untapped one. And
fairly, yeah.
Sure, it's risky. I mean, we're literally talking where right now one of the top 5 movies in the box office is a musical. But it's a musical based on a Broadway show that's based on a Broadway show that's based on a movie that's based on a book. So, I mean,
keep imitating and repeating, baby. I love it. So as long as you're recreating it and not just reimagining and not just trying to steal someone else's thunder. If it's just something you're passionate about and feel a different way of telling it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Something
Wicked
new.
Was a way for that story to be told to the minorities and people of color back in what was it, like the 70s or something? When did that come out? 90s?
Wicked? No, Wicked is relatively recently. Let me look it up. 90s is probably more appropriate, but I don't know the history of it.
When it hit Broadway or whatever stages.
Let's see.
But regardless, it was, because it was definitely a whitewashed as fuck story. Right. Judy Garland and,
it was a loose musical with lyrics and a book by Winnie Holzman. It's a loose adaptation of the 95 Gregory Maguire novel Wicked.
Yep. So that was the origin of that telling of it. Okay.
But I mean, since my adulthood, every few years there's a new musical that shakes the market, that tells people, oh, musicals are coming back, and then there's a few imitations, then it dies, and then a new big one comes out again.
Like La La Land.
Well, La La Land, I would say, is probably one of the ones that slipped by. That was a risk that somehow slipped by and did well. So it's things like that
that's what I'm saying.
We want to see.
The promise.
But you've got
never
like
delivered.
There was
no more came.
There was Chicago. Some back. What was that? 2003. But before that,
Chicago did really well.
Before that was Moulin Rouge, which didn't do as well. Right, and that was a huge risk for Baz Luhrmann. I loved it.
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, I loved it.
I could give or take Chicago, honestly.
I could.
I mean, it's good.
It's
good.
fine.
Yeah, but I mean, as
it
a
is
movie,
what it is. I can't
could give or take it. I'd prefer it as a stage play because they tried to film it like a stage play.
Like a stage play.
And that's great because it's like part of the origin story, but I don't think it served the movie.
Right. Whereas Moulin Rouge was like, oh, we're something completely different. You'd never be able to do this on stage. Let's go wild.
And
that was entertaining.
So well.
It was so entertaining because it still had that fantastical feeling. It didn't feel like that Moulin Rouge city didn't feel lived in. It felt like it was in a fantastical story.
Yeah, they felt like they were the only ones who lived there, unless it was performance night, and then just all the
place lit up.
NPCs came out of the woodworks for them.
As only Baz Luhrmann can do.
Yeah.
Well, that was I would absolutely recommend Reaper the Genetic Opera to anybody who has any affinity for horror or just music. I don't want to say musicals. I want to say if you've got an affinity towards music, you should get comfortable and be like, you know what? Maybe this is outside of my wheelhouse, but you'll enjoy it.
Anything that's just different than what you're used to, this will take you there on every level. It's a whole world built for you, and they do it well. It's enjoyable.
So did you watch it? Did you watch Repo Genetic Opera? Let us know what you thought. Was it your first time? Was it? Will it be your last time?
Right.
We recommend it to people. I really want to know because I had a lot of fun with this, and I'm glad that I finally took the step to pay attention. Like I said, it's been on before, and I wanted to watch it when it came out because just the advertisement of it, I was like, this is what I want. This is what I need. There was a little bit of hesitation on my part because I was afraid that it was an overpromise.
Sure.
Or an underpromise. No, overpromise. Overpromise, underdelivered.
Say it, I understand.
It's like, okay, it looks like it's definitely gonna be a good movie, but is the music gonna suck? And the music didn't suck. The music was fun. It didn't feel, high schooly or anything.
Yeah, no. The point is, get down there, comment, let us know what you think. Even if you want to come at me like good old Matt Santini and saying, "How dare you?" When I brought just one of the guys up, and he had to watch it. He was not too happy with me.
He was none too happy, but it was as promised.
I enjoy it.
Say that.
In fact, last month my mother-in-law was watching that. That's why it came to mind.
All right, so let's move on to our list today. What are you thinking? You want to go the full haul and do 12 of these sons of bitches, or what do you want to do?
I mean, we're going to do our first one and take a
the reason I'm asking is because, let's do 2 and take a break, right?
Well, if we're doing 2 and taking a break, then we're doing 4 when we come back. That's just ridiculous.
That's how you want to do it?
No, I thought we were going to do 1, take a break, and then do 4.
We can.
That's 5.
We can. That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay, let's do 1. I'll start it out. If we get through 2 before I'm like, let's take a break, then I guess we're doing 6. First of all, okay, so we're doing non-MCU movie superhero comic book characters or superhero characters. Yeah,
superheroes. So not necessarily. Yeah. So let's talk about superheroes. Do we have a definition of what a superhero is? Because hero is anybody who does something heroic. Superhero is technically someone with some sort of advancement.
Some sort of mutation or power or otherworldly advantage over the common man.
Okay. The reason I ask is we'll just use a very common one. Like a Batman is somebody who doesn't have superpowers, but his superpower is his wealth, right?
I guess kind of his wealth, but also his cunning, his daring.
But he's just a smart, normal person with whatever. Batman is definitely a superhero.
Yeah,
right.
But I mean, he does he's an acrobat. He's athletic. So he pushes himself.
Could
to
there
the boundaries
be
beyond
other people similar to the Batman argument as far as the superhero?
Sure, like Megamind is not really anything but super smart.
Okay,
you know what I mean.
All right, I'm down with it. All right, you offered to go first. Let's go ahead and let's hear it out.
I'm gonna start with the Mystery Men. It's so just Mystery Men. There's no I don't. Sorry about it. But Mystery Men is Champion City already has a superhero. They appropriately named Captain Amazing, played by Greg Kinnear. Wonderful. But that doesn't deter the city's 7 quirky amateur crime fighters who use the captain's capture at the hands of villain Casanova Frankenstein, played by Jeffrey Rush. Amazing. As motivation to prove themselves. The only problem is that their strange powers, like silverware hurling, bowling, shovel skills, incompetent invisibility, and deadly flatulence, aren't doing them any favors. So, this is a cast of Ben Stiller as Mr. Furious, Kinka Usher as Mo, Greg Kinnear's Captain Amazing, Jean Garofalo as Carol, Paul Rubens as the Spleen, William H. Macy as Shoveler, Hank Azaria as the Blue Raja, Jeffrey Rush as Casanova Frankenstein. It was directed by Kinka Usher in 1999.
It's a funny movie. I don't remember the plot, but I do remember that the what is his name? Greg Kinnear's character was completely sponsored. His outfit had brand logos all over it because he was popular and
he was Captain Amazing, dude.
Brand sponsored.
He was Captain Amazing, and he was freaking amazeballs. And it was NASCAR. Like, he had all the stuff right on his chest. And what happens is, in the opening scene of the movie, Jeffrey Rush's character, Victor von Frankenstein or some shit like that, Casanova Frankenstein. Victor von Frankenstein is the real doctor. I'm sorry. I like that name better. Kidnaps him and takes him hostage, right? So all of these non-superheroes come out of the woodworks, these amateurs, and they team up, and it's really just hilarity ensues. It's so great.
Because they're kind of...
Ben Stiller as Mr. Furious. They should have called him Mr. Incompetent. Because he was just not capable of anything but going...
They each and every one of them were like posturing more or less. Like, so it's a movie of subversion because there's no real heroes there. Or is it one of those things that at the end they learn they are heroes?
Because
it's been a while since I've seen it.
Because teamwork. And well, I thought we were doing spoilers on these, so I'm not going to go into it. But
okay,
it's teamwork.
Yeah. No, I'm not looking for you to give the ending away. That's for sure. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I remember it being a lot of fun.
It is. It's a fun one.
It's a something different from the superhero storytelling, which is also very similar to my first pick. I'm going to go with 1984's The Toxic Avenger.
Yes,
trauma movie.
I'll take that one off my list.
Trauma movie where the everyday nerd gentleman named Melvin is, I mean, he's bullied, he's just like, he's weak, and he's the, in the movie world's the super dork, and he gets messed up with some toxic waste that turns him into this disgusting, strong, vile, mop-wielding superhero called the Toxic Avenger.
I love Toxie. Yeah.
And there's a whole series of them. Each of them progressively they're fun. The thing with the trauma movies is they're all super low budget. So these are one of those things where you got to go in knowing you're about to see some sleaze. And when faces get smashed or arms get ripped off, it's so cheesy but so practical and so 80s that it's just one of those things that is amazing fun. Toxie's got, the silly little one-liners that he does as he's trying to do away with the ne'er-do-wells. They were doing a remake with Peter Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger. From what I understand, it's on hold and not being released. The studio doesn't like it.
Oh, well, it still says it's
still showing,
ready for release.
Yeah, because it is. It went through some testing, and right now there's
I don't give a shit if the studio likes
Hollywood is the way it is right now, man. Maybe this is one of their tactics to make it do better, to hold it for a year. I don't know. But in the meantime, I definitely highly recommend you go check out the sleazy mid-'80s Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, you definitely should. It's such... And, I mean, there's a whole series.
So all the way up through, I think, Citizen Toxic. I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 of them, yeah. And there was a cartoon series.
Over a good 30 years. Yeah, Toxie. Yeah, I loved that when I was growing up.
It was the Toxic Avengers, right?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite cartoons. It
was a Sunday morning cartoon, wasn't it?
Yeah. Sunday morning cartoon.
Weird. You didn't get good stuff on Sunday, so
for us kids for us heathens who didn't need church because we have morals. And yes, that's how I feel. You people out there, come have a talk about it. Anyways, yeah. So my next one, yes, Toxic Avenger is amazing. The original one, I saw that as a teenager, loved it. It was a cheap B movie. You know what I mean? It was something. It was you don't see enough of anymore.
It doesn't take itself seriously, but it tries hard.
Right? No, for sure. But at the same time, you don't get the same quality B movies that we used to get.
No,
because it did just cost, frankly, so much money to put something on actual film. So you had to be now you can just go buy a camera and make a film. There's no I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? I can't further. So my next one is going to be a classic of the Metro Detroit area, Detroit specifically, The Crow.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. Crow. When was that?
1995. It sounds like maybe 94.
See, this is what I didn't type that one out. I didn't get ahead of myself, and now
that's all right. Talk about it. I'll look it up.
The Crow. Yeah, 1994. Eric Draven, played by Brandon Lee, the night before his wedding, the musician and his fiancée are brutally murdered by members of a violent inner-city gang. On the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the gothic mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger, tracking down the thugs responsible for the crime and mercilessly murdering them. Eric eventually confronts head gangster Top Dollar, played by Michael Wincott, to complete his macabre mission. Very
macabre.
Macabre. I know it's macabre. I'm going to say it how I say it. For those of you out there, I do know how to read. I'm obnoxious sometimes. Yeah, so that was in theaters May 29th and 30th, way back in 1994. Action fantasy. I loved it. It was really, really well done. Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! That's something the gangsters yelled at each other. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie. I like The Crow. I like the dark, sinister overtones that the film has, visually. It's very colorless. There's so much black, and lights are accentuated by just street lights or fire, leaving a lot of the framework in shadows and giving them an opportunity to just really play with that noirish, dark graphic novel style.
And it was a noir graphic novel. It was very dark. The creator of it, I can't think of his name right now, and it wasn't on the movie description. So he lost his fiance, and it tore him up and kind of shattered his life. And this was his way of grieving, was to create this comic and keep her alive, her memory alive. And I'm glad he was able to have some kind of solace in the success of his story. It's really a beautiful thing. Sad.
The movie's gone on to a series of different sequels. There was a TV show, Saturday afternoon TV show, and then of course earlier this year there was a remake, which was much maligned.
Did it already come out? I didn't see it.
It went through theaters. I don't know if it's out on streaming yet. I haven't seen it come through streaming. Brandon Lee famously played Eric Draven. That was where he lost his life.
Yeah.
The unfortunate accident where they had a live weapon on set, and it had projectiles in it. And unfortunately, during a take, it took his life. leading to what we presume to be better safety on set. I guess that was a comfort we had up until Rust.
Yes.
So a good, 30 years of
no incidents.
Yeah.
Like that. Anyway, no death from projectile with a gun.
One of the things that I really find fun about The Crow is the character that we follow is a young girl who's she lives somewhat on the street. Might as well say she lives on the street because her mom is a ne'er-do-weller trying to do well for her child, but making poor choices. In
the mother's fictional, a drug addict.
The fictional corrupt
cocktail waitress who has an addiction problem and dates sleazeballs and tries to be a good mother, but barely thinks of her daughter when she's high. So,
and the young actors are hard to find, and I feel if I remember correctly, the young actress and her relationship with the Crow, it works really well on screen.
It really did, yeah.
Between the two of them.
She was very close with the fiance, which also made her close with him in retrospect. So, he was like a big brother to her.
Right.
It was very like a reassuring relationship. You didn't feel...
Mm-hmm. If you've not seen The Crow for any number of reasons, one, it predates movies you like to watch, or you just don't know if it's for you, I would say give it a shot, man. It's definitely a whole different twist on what makes a hero and what we expect out of superhero stories.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little twist.
If you want to see a gangster smoke an eyeball.
If you want to see some weird shit, they do some weird shit, and of course, it's got some tropes to it too. It's got like the wisecracking, weird talking, switchblade holding mid-90s gangsters.
Yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun.
Wearing their big
for being
leather
a horrible
coats.
Tragedy of a story.
I'm gonna go
up in so much stuff.
On my next pick here, I'm also going to go 80s and a little bit on the darker side. This was a relatively new watch for me, and I didn't watch it for this episode, but I've seen it within the last 12 months. And that is Liam Neeson in Sam Raimi's Darkman.
Nice, bro. Yeah, I'll scratch that one off my list too. Yeah, that one was more my going to be my honorable
one of your
mentions.
honorables.
Yeah.
So Darkman was a lot of fun.
Gotta bring it up, dude. There's like 5 of them.
Yeah, which I'm behind on. I went with the Sam Raimi.
I've only seen 3 of them.
I went with the Sam Raimi original. It was a fun movie. So the Liam Neeson's character, I forget how he doesn't really die because he becomes Darkman, but he's believed to be dead through a tragedy that occurs through some sort of plot device that is, motivating him to continue in his search afterwards, because he is he's been chemically altered, and in order to manage that, he works on creating skin-like, lifelike disguises so he can enter into any situation as anybody, a la like Mission Impossible, right? But creepier and more heroically. He is one of those superheroes that is this is the origin movie, so he's figuring it out.
Yeah, of course.
It's Frances McDormand, who I love.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's a revenge story, and I don't want to give too much away. It's a visual masterpiece. It's fun in the sense that it takes the downtrodden, puts them in a real shitty situation, and then gives them puts them in a situation where they have to make the decision to go on and be a hero, and he does. And he does some pretty fun
fighting the urge to be the vigilante kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's very cusp of morality at a point, and it's well done.
Yeah, 1990, so another one of those opportunities where I thought I was going in the 80s and I wasn't. But again, 1990. Isn't it the 80s?
All right, so I guess we're doing 6 because no point in coming back to do 3 each. We might as well do 4.
Well, at this time, we're going to take a break anyways. We will see you guys in just a moment.
Yoinks! Welcome back, y'all, to Unorthodox Film Podcast.
Hello. Whew. I just had some chips. I gotta clean my mouth out.
Okay, so we just talked about we each gave 2, so 4 movies.
2 of them, yep. 4 movies. Darkman was the last one we talked about.
And before that, The Crow. And in The Crow, we forgot to mention how pivotal that soundtrack was.
Oh my God, the music
90s.
in that movie.
Yeah, it was amazing. So
Ray really brought in like that industrial, the growth of industrial metal, like 9 Inch Nails, and
yeah,
the soundtrack
synth pop. And
the soundtrack was a banger for a lot of people back in the day. So I imagine even today it's still something on heavy rotation.
Slaps, yeah.
So you are up, my friend.
Well, what were the first 2?
4 we started with Mystery Men.
Yep.
The Toxic Avenger.
Yep.
The Crow.
Yep.
And Darkman.
All right. And I'm going to continue with a 2000 comedy action, The Specials.
The Specials.
Yeah. Directed by Craig Mazin. It was in a crowded and competitive market. Wannabe superheroes Rob Lowe, Jamie Kennedy, and Thomas Hayden Church pride themselves on being the 7th best unit in the world. And hilarity ensues. The screenplay was by James Gunn.
Yeah, I see that. Written by James Gunn.
Yeah, James Gunn played Minuteman. Rob Lowe played Tony. There's also
Thomas Hayden Church.
Paige Brewster, Judy Greer.
Did I see Melissa Joan Hart?
Fulford Park, Sean Gunn. Yeah.
Interesting.
Really interesting.
So
I enjoyed it. It was off-color comedy. You know what I mean? It was very. It was special. It really was. I don't know what to like. Without spoilers and stuff, like Rob Lowe's amazing. Jamie Kennedy is always funny. Thomas Hayden Church is classic. Thomas Hayden Church. He's just funny in a way people aren't.
No
funny.
Melissa Joan Hart. It looks like she was just
no.
But Judy Greer, Jamie Kennedy. You mentioned Jordan Ladd.
Yeah, and I mean it's got some good effects, and it's just. What's
the general? You said they're overpopulated. Are these actual superheroes? Are these people
over competitive market? Like there's just superheroes all over the place, and so they're just like the 6th or 7th best in the world, and they're just like whatever, man. Like, yeah, it hilarity ensues. It's just so funny, and this is really like this is the movie where James Gunn like came from. You know what I mean?
Well, he was making his way.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like this was a game changer. 2000.
A huge game changer for him was Scooby Doo. That was his liftoff. But he was out trying for a long time.
Oh, for sure.
He worked with.
I think he got Scooby Doo.
He worked with
sticky like this.
Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma, who did Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
The Specials, where is that viewable? I've not seen it, so I can't really add anything else. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about The Specials? It's not streaming anywhere except Apple TV Plus right now. What a fucking drag.
Horrible.
Yeah.
My bad.
That's all right. All right, so then if you don't have anything else to add, I surely don't. I'm going to go with
it's worth a watch. It's a good movie.
My next recommendation, and I've got a list of ones here that like aren't the obvious. There's some obvious ones that I could have picked, and I'm like, so I don't know how far, because we've already done some left fielders. So I'm going to talk about a strong one that I thought was, it had been done in the 80s, and I didn't really care for what was done. Maybe it was early 90s. I don't know. It was a shit movie. But then in 2004,
shit movie.
They released The Punisher again with Thomas Jane and John Travolta.
Yeah.
And it was a fucking banger of a movie.
There was one in the 80s with Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren, yeah. That's what I was talking about. It was shite. It was shite. But the 2004
Thomas Jane
one.
Punisher. It had Ben Forrester and what's her name?
Yeah.
Rebecca Romaine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so what I liked about it was brutal. It was It was so 2004. We were really at an era where things were changing. You know, digital cinema was coming in, CGI was coming in, and the director really, 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 really wanted to shoot a practical action movie, and he did, and it really works for this movie because the explosions are real, the stunts are real, so like everything was grounded in the set and in the set pieces, and it was an opportunity for John Travolta to play a character that he'd not really done before. It was a really wicked villain. He I guess he played it a little bit with Face Off, right? But it was fun. It was a fucking turn, like he would go do Swordfish the year after. That was a pretty wicked role, but I guess Swordfish was probably before that. Okay, so John Travolta was in his Wicked era, and this role was just good.
Yeah, it was a step above.
And it introduced me to Thomas Jane.
He was in his Wicked era because I'm thinking.
I keep thinking of more.
Arrow, whatever one, Paris.
With what's his name, the young cat.
Can't remember of something
from Velvet Goldmine. So 2004's Punisher was I haven't seen the one after that. A lot of people said that one was better. It was a different guy playing the Punisher. I really, really, really liked Thomas Jane as the Punisher and wanted to see more in that world. So I think it was called Punisher Warzone. Didn't see it. I recommend. I
saw it once. I don't really remember much of it. There was no real heart or story into the Punisher part of it. It was just high octane action, and
that's what I kind of liked about the Thomas Jane Punisher. Was like there was this.
I didn't really care for.
He had this whole routine going. Like he knew how he wanted to take his vengeance. He knew what he wanted to do. And then, like, watching his plan unfold was what was cool. Building the car, and he was super cool, super quiet, super stoic, and I would.
Well, I mean, and some of the villains in that were just epic, like Henry Heck, who came in with the guitar.
The Man in Black, and then sang to him, and then tried to kill him. Kevin Nash coming in as the giant Russian and just throwing him around his hideout. So it's got a lot of fun scenes. Like you mentioned, a young Ben Foster, he was the quote-unquote kid with the shit in his face.
The kid with the shit in his face is one of the neighbors at his shitty apartment.
Yeah, with that comic who I think has passed, but the larger guy singing.
I can't remember his name.
My dad loves him as a stand-up.
Okay. See, I wasn't aware he just.
Yeah, dude, really funny stuff.
I'm sure he is. He's hilarious in that.
Top cast. So. This is the wrong Punisher. It's got John Bernthal. But yeah, highly recommend checking that one out if it's not. 1989 was the Dolph Lundgren one.
Yeah.
So legit 80s, but not good. It's not the movie I'm recommending. You go check out the 2004 Punisher and let me know what you think about that. Joe, what's your next recommendation?
My next recommendation would be Kick-Ass. 2010's action comedy Kick-Ass. Where using his love for comics as inspiration, teenager Dave Lazuski, played by Aaron Johnson, who is just a fabulous actor, decides to reinvent himself as a superhero despite the complete lack of special powers. Dave dons a costume, dubs himself Kick-Ass, and it says without like a superpower, but he went through some kind of accident. He can't feel pain. I mean, that's kind of a superpower.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to fight through shit.
Yeah, and he's definitely an idiot, so he's not afraid of anything.
Right.
But you get to meet some great characters played by Chloe Grace Moretz, Nicolas Cage, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse, right? And just Big Daddy and I forget what Chloe Grace's character's name was. Little Ass Kicker.
Yes,
Little Ass Kicker. Yeah. So, just amazing. Yeah, just a good fun romp through underbelly of this world, and it's
it's really fun. It's rides that inspiration that started with like Sin City, where it was the comic book directly to screen type of situation, and really taking note of how of how that's our memory card beeping. Remembering how or utilizing like the art style of the comic book or the graphic novel to bring it to screen, and trying to stay faithful to that, but at the same time presenting something visually that the superhero movies up to that point hadn't really started. I think that Kick-Ass is a lot of fun visually, but it's like that super bad attitude of a movie, but in comic book form, because it's offhanded comedy, the side snide, and it's really fun. I honestly don't recall if I've seen the sequel.
I have. Yes, it keeps up.
Does it? Yeah. So good. I'll have to check the sequel out, because I really did enjoy the first one, and I don't know what stopped me from watching it. A lot of these things, it's not that I just haven't watched because I didn't want to. It's just there's so much content that I don't have time to watch it.
Where can you find it? Place you saw it last, it's no longer sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, it's a great cast. It's a great movie.
So then for the 8th pick, I wanted to talk about Batman, but what Batman movie, right? There's so many. And I think like a good number of them are probably on the tip of people's tongue anyways, and they're either watching it or they're not. So I wanted to put one on the radar that I fucking loved and thought was a genuinely really good film, and I don't think is at the top of people's watch list, and that is Batman Mask of the Phantasm, based off of the animated series.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a feature film that was put out with a new villain, the Phantasm, and it told a different story to adding to Bruce's backstory. But it brought back Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Right, and it's an animated movie.
It's an animated movie.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
So you've not seen it?
No.
Oh, excellent.
Not much of an animated movie person.
Which is understandable. So the animation style was directly from the animation from the 90s, the Batman, the animated series, which is my favorite interpretation of Batman, because he's the detective, right? He really goes into the hows and the whys to figuring out the who's.
I think Robert Pattinson's The Batman was
it's closest
live action right to that, which I really
movie
enjoyed that first.
Follows that. Like, you don't lose that. You don't lose the animation style.
Who plays Batman in that?
Kevin Conroy, the same guy as the kept it from the animated series. Yep. Yeah. And you've got Stacy Keach plays the Phantasm, which is great. I didn't know really who he was back in the day, but you've got like Abe Vigoda makes an appearance in there as Salvatore Valestra. It's fun. Again, the Mark Hamill as Joker, that movie, his credit on that movie was when I learned that fucking Luke Skywalker was my favorite Joker, and
that's amazing.
That was enlightening.
He does a great job in that, and in that world, in the Batman world, it's one of the most favored and iconic series. I know that. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So the story loosely is about going into a little bit of billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne's past, and kind of approaching a lost love interest. Like, we never really see Bruce Wayne have a love interest because he lives this double life, and every time you do, it ends up, it's like a James Bond moment, right? Okay. She's a villain, or she's the whatever. So this goes into the past to kind of talk about who was Bruce during his growth of becoming Batman. It was when he was early Batman, still figuring out the Batman. And I don't want to spoil anything. It does have a really good storyline that does. I don't know if it's comic accurate. I've never been a comic book fan. For me, the cartoons were my comics, and so that's where my lore came from. But yeah, highly recommend it. I imagine. Let me see where it's available. While I'm doing that, Joe, if you've not seen it, it looks like it's on Amazon. We'll move on.
All right, I'm ready. No, I have not seen it. I am curious. I'm just not into. Like I said, I'm not into cartoon movies. there are some that I like, so I'm not against watching it. It's just, I don't know, when am I going to be in the mood for this when I'm hanging out with my daughter if she wants to do Batman.
This one's dark. Like, this one goes a little bit more adult than the cartoon. Yeah, I think you actually see blood in this one, too.
Okay, so I'm going to go, I don't know what, in 2000, movie Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
With, it was M. Night Shyamalan. No, that was...
Shyamalan with a twist.
Yeah, as a security guard, having been the sole survivor of a high-fatality train crash, finds himself at the center of a mysterious theory that explains his consistent physical good fortune. When news of his survival is made public, a man whose own body is excessively weak tracks him down in an attempt to explain his unique, unbreakable nature. So, it's Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, and Bruce Willis is unbreakable, and Samuel L. Jackson is
Glass.
Professor Glass, and yeah, and it goes on. It took 20 years, but it goes on to make a great trilogy of
movies, sure.
So yeah, it's one of my favorites. I love it. I love the simple nature of a man just trying to live his life, and out of no doing of his own other than just always being there to help people. Right. This guy decides that he's gonna ruin his life, and like, yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah, it's
good versus evil.
The movie itself is an exploration of the comic book hero trope, with Sam Jackson's character, Professor Glass, being a fan from childhood of comic books. Yeah. And he kind of devises like his position based on his study of comic book tropes, and so that's how he makes his alignment. And when he discovers that he's a supervillain, he needs to find who his
counterpart,
right? Like who's my superhero,
polar opposite,
and
my
so
nemesis.
He does searching, and because he's afflicted by like every little thing he does, he ends up injures and like from a young age, and he grew up in a very poor household with a single mother, and he kept putting her through things because he keeps ending up breaking himself. And so he's like, if I'm this breakable, if I'm like glass, who out there is impenetrable? And so he does this search to try and find the man, and Bruce Willis's character has no idea what he is. And so the movie's exploration from either end of them,
kind of does.
His son is the one that kind of clues him in, and that's what's brilliant about this story, because it's so down to earth and at real life level that it takes something that's so extraordinary and puts it in a way that is so relatable that it makes it alternately incredible. One of my favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies, and my favorite in the series. If somehow you watched Glass and didn't end up watching Unbreakable, I would.
Or Split.
Yeah, I mean, Split is watchable on its own. That's why I hesitated. It is part of, ultimately at the end you find out it's part of the trilogy. But I would say, Glass and Unbreakable are hand in hand, and Split is, adjacent to and then a part of.
Yeah. I can see how you say that.
You could see Split and then see Glass and see them as a whole, but I think you could skip Unbreakable and still get those two. I think you're doing yourself a disservice, and I highly recommend that if you did skip Unbreakable, that you go see Unbreakable.
Unbreakable, for sure. It's an amazing film.
I put that down as my pick. I was almost going to hand it over to you, but I typed my name wrong. All right, so our 10th pick tonight, I am going to go kind of in a similar area as what you were just discussing there, a different take at the if a superhero was real life, and I'm going to go with Hancock.
Oh, nice, yeah.
I like Hancock. I think it's fun. I think it's...
I really enjoyed it because it's tie-in to, like, mythology and biblical stuff. Like,
I like the idea, like
just a brush over.
Like you were saying with Unbreakable, that he's just an ordinary guy and he's just trying to go about. He doesn't understand what he has. Whereas in Hancock 100% clearly understands the powers that he has, but he doesn't accept the responsibility.
No, he's been at it so long. He's
just over
anymore.
It. He's like, it's just a job like everything else. And we think of the superhero life and like, oh, wouldn't that be great? And he just so he just becomes a prick. And it's really fun to explore that world where somebody can fly and punch walls and not give a fuck. And it's what's really cool is it's a Peter Berg movie, and so it's shot in this really, really cool early 2000s aesthetic. It's got Jason Bateman.
I loved him in this movie.
Jason Bateman is glorious. Charlize Theron is Jason Bateman's wife. She ends up with the secret, and it's just if you've missed out on Hancock is to the superhero movies of the early 2000s that The Boys is to present day MCU. So if you're a fan of The Boys, I would check out Hancock and get yourself a little extra dose.
It's got a little stank on it.
Yeah.
A little stank on its hang down. I like it. Good choice. All right, so for my number 6, right?
This would be a 6-1 for you.
All right. Final suggestion. I'm going to do director Guillermo del Toro's 2004 Hellboy. Hellboy, I was a fan of these comics, and when this finally came out and it had the amazing Ron Perlman in it, I had to see it.
Had to go see it?
Yeah, back in 2004. It was a huge thing for me. I loved it. And, Golden Army, the sequel, was a good follow-up, but I think they could have done better.
It didn't have the charm that the first one had.
It really didn't. No. It felt like it was hoping for a third movie to do more, and since they didn't do one, I wish they would have. But yeah, this is at the end of World War II. Nazis attempt to open a portal to a paranormal dimension in order to defeat the Allies, but are only able to summon a baby demon who is rescued by Allied forces and dubbed Hellboy, played by Ron Perlman. So 60 years later, Hellboy serves as an agent in the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, where he, aided by Abe Sapien, played by Doug Jones and voiced by David Hyde Pierce, who is a merman with psychic abilities and powers, and Liz Sherman, played by Selma Blair, a woman with pyrokinesis. They protect America against the dark forces or anything occult related. Yeah, it's just great. Great movie. Good soundtrack, I guess. Nothing like The Crow, but nothing iconic like that. Yeah, Carol Roden, he plays the villain, Gregory Rasputin, and
which is a cool villain. Yeah. That's what really cool about the Hellboy series is all of the characters are not derivative of other characters in other. Like a lot of times superhero characters are derivatives of the more famous Marvel or DC counterpart.
Yeah.
Or of an old
more
book.
Attempting to be attached to real folklore and like real people of legend. Like Rasputin is still alive and
right, which is just it's cool. It's what's wild. And the cool thing about Guillermo del Toro is his visual style, and there's so much fun. Taking even that one's in New York, right? Because don't they go to the subways and fight in the subway for a little bit? Yeah. And the Ron Perlman delivery of like the attitude of the nonchalant Hellboy, who is more or less like he acts like a child. They treat him like a child. He's 60-something years old, and yet he wants to go out and explore, and that's where his charm with the what was her name? The brooding character, Liz, and
Liz Sherman,
and he has an attraction to her because she's that outsider and he relates to it. So, yeah, man, good choice.
Yeah, thank you. Apparently, there's one that just came out.
You didn't see it?
I saw the one
with
Hopper,
yeah,
or whatever. But no, there's another.
Oh, there's another one. Oh,
Yeah,
I did not know.
For 2024 or 2025. I don't know. I haven't seen it, so.
I would imagine no one else has.
Well, I mean, I will. I saw the one with Hopper. It wasn't that great.
It wasn't. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it says right here, 2024 film, Hellboy the Crooked Man.
Interesting. All right, then.
Yeah, it's released.
It's on me.
Oh, there's the cast.
On me. So
Jack Kessie. I have no idea who this guy is.
I've got a couple films here that I would still like to talk about. I know we still have our discards, but I'm torn between what tops our list here. What is the walking out of here, leaving it in our mouth? And I'm really torn between three.
Well, you can only pick one.
But I can only pick one. So here it is. So
drop the gauntlet.
Masters of the Universe.
Nice. Okay. All right.
We're going to fit Dolph Lundgren on here anyway.
See, this is, for me, maybe it's nostalgic, but I loved it because I love that
So I'm going to recommend it as a so shitty you should watch it, because I don't want anyone coming back and being like, oh my God. No, it is a shitty movie. It's an 80s movie. It's got Dolph Lundgren. It's got
80s movie. It's got some pretty cool
Frank Langella
sci-fi stuff.
You've got, dude, it is peak 80s. The
Touché.
Yeah, I mean, the way that there's little stop motion, green screen, just all of the different way that they do post and compositions and stuff in there is really fun. It absolutely is terrible and delirious. It's Dolph Lundgren. You're only going to get so much out of Dolph Lundgren. It is, what's her name is in it from Friends.
Courtney Cox.
Courtney Cox plays the lead female.
Yes, she does.
And it's zany. Like, even if you are a He-Man fan, it's akin to like the original Mario Brothers movie, where it has nothing to do with Super Mario.
I love that movie too.
But it has nothing to do with Super Mario. Like, it's just
the story in the world.
In this one, they have characters that are called Skeletor and He-Man, but he comes to the real world, and there's the key, and it's fun. It's terribly cheesy. And I would recommend it's starting to snow here where we are, and if you are stuck inside and you just want something fun, Masters of the Universe, man.
It is fun. It's
Masters
cheesy,
of the Universe,
but it's fun.
1987. And it's leaving today off of Prime Video. No.
Oh man.
Oh my God. That hurts my heart. But it's on Tubi.
Well, we better roll it so I can watch it.
Yeah, it's on Tubi. So even if it's not available after today, Tubi and Pluto have it. So
okay.
Masters of the Universe from 1987.
Avoided that catastrophe.
Yeah, right. So that brings us to the end of our list. We do have to do our little roll ski. I'm going to do the roll. Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to roll? I think you've rolled before. Right. I don't think I've rolled.
No, I probably have.
I'm going to roll. And that way, if it ends up being your video, it's still my fault, and I have only myself to blame.
That's a 6.
That's a 6. So before I say what that is, because a lot of these are showing up as not available. So I want to make sure that this one is. This one I didn't get to yet.
Okay, then.
It is not. So it's your turn to roll. Go ahead and roll.
All right.
And I'll let you know what it is. I know.
Number 10.
That one I've already looked up and is only available on Apple TV. I refuse.
Oh, you got them in order. That's why.
They're always going to be in order. That's
roll.
the rando. Okay. It is my roll.
So, yeah.
So that number doesn't count. That one is available. Which one are we hoping for? I'm going to focus on it.
Well, until you put on Masters of the Universe, I was really hoping for Toxie.
I know.
That's a numeral.
God damn it, dude. Another Apple TV only.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it sucks. This list is a little bit harder to watch.
Oh, that's a Finsky. That's a 5. What's up?
Another one I didn't look up yet, so let me see.
Son of a pooper. Well, I rolled a 4.
Yeah, that one's not streaming anywhere. Yeah, not even Apple TV has that one.
12.
So 12? All right. 12 is Masters of the Universe.
Watching Masters of the Universe.
All right. So the ones that we rolled that we weren't that we'd be unable to watch were The Specials, The Punisher, and Hancock. So those are the ones that didn't make.
What was number 4? The one that said it wasn't available anywhere.
No, number 5 wasn't available anywhere. It's The Specials.
Oh,
Number 4 would have been
James
available.
Gunn. Get with it.
You know that's not up to him.
I know.
So anyway, so Masters in the Universe, I did just look that up, and it was viewable. Let's see. While I look this up, I'm seconds away. Oh yeah, that's the one that's leaving today, but it is available on Tubi. So we're gonna watch that one for our next episode. And Joe, why don't you tell the people how they can find you?
You can go to Instagram and find me at chaotic_artisan, or on the links that we will have posted below in the description.
All links in the description for the podcast, and the podcast is available at ufostudio.detroit on Instagram and on Threads. You can find us on Facebook at Unorthodox Film Podcast. We are streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever else you can find your podcast. You can visit us at our store or on our website, and that is at ufpodcast.podbean.com. Again, you can find the link in the description, and there will also be a link to our merch store, the UFO Bazaar, where you can get cool hoodies like the one I'm wearing right now. You can get pullovers, zip-ups, some T-shirts, and mugs and cups and things. So all of that is to help us fund our projects and keep the podcast going. So any little bit that you want to contribute, we would like to make our merch really cool and wearable. So if you have any ideas, we would love to make that available to you. You can follow me at Beeford Clark on Instagram and Threads. And that brings us to the end of our show. We really want you guys to like and follow. If you like what we do here, the subscriptions do definitely help us. We're trying to grow the show and get more listeners. So if you could share with your friends and recommend it to people that are looking for conversations about movies and what to watch, we would love to have new listeners and new feedback. So get in on the conversation. Anywhere we have the conversations, Spotify, on Threads, join us.
Button, get in there, man.
Yeah,
let us know.
Let us know, and let us know what type of movies you'd like us to talk about. If there's anything that we haven't hit as far as a topic, please, we're open to that. And what about the non-MCU superhero films that we didn't mention?
Somebody you want to talk about movies? We're open to guests.
Yeah. So before we log all the way off, Joe, what were your discards?
My discards. Oh man. So I had Deadpool on there because he originally wasn't a Marvel, but then he got accepted into Marvel kind of thing. So I, wasn't gonna do that one. But this is this movie Chronicle that's set in a documentary style, but I haven't. I didn't really remember it enough to
I've
want
heard
to talk
really
about
good things about it, and I want to see it.
I had The Punisher that you mentioned. Mars Attacks because it was comic book, but there's no superhero.
It's not a superhero. That would non-superhero comic.
The Rocketeer, but is he really
the Rocketeer? 100% he is.
Blade. Stuff like that.
Yeah, so I had Blade and Spider-Man and Deadpool. But of
Sam
course,
Raimi Spider-Man, of course.
But with their inclusion.
Still, they have Spider-Man
my
in the
avoidance,
MCU, so.
my avoidance of talking about MCU movies is really about the style and the writing. So even though they are included now in the cinematic universe, the other Spider-Mans and Blade come from different. So I had Blade.
I thought about doing 1982's Captain America, but since there is a Marvel Captain America, and it's really cheesy. So
it is really cheesy. But
worse than the one we're watching.
I covered cheesy I covered cheesy today. I had Watchmen on my list. I really like Watchmen. I think that
the Watchmen,
when the Watchmen came out, it was. Each of the movies that we mentioned today do something different.
Noir.
It takes itself very seriously.
Yeah.
The idea of watching this movie that's so brutal and so real, and we were talking earlier about the metaphors and the subversions. This one takes place in an alternate universe, so time is different because of different decisions made in politics.
Yeah, where Nixon is the
goes
emperor.
on for he goes on for multiple terms.
He's basically stated himself as ruler. Whew.
Yeah, omniscient. the the style that Zack Snyder brought to that movie is it's just I don't know, it's unique, and
it was very unique.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what like any version of the Watchmen that's been done since I've kind of not been interested in because it doesn't have that like the
interesting.
Real thought
Yeah,
behind it.
I didn't have HBO when the show came out, and now that I have HBO, I just haven't sat to watch it yet. I've got a lot of HBO to get back.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's just it's not.
It's different.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well,
there's a new one that just came out. I haven't tried that one yet.
Was that the rest that you had on your list? Where I don't want to cut you off there anymore.
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you covered a lot of the ones that I had. The one that wasn't covered, one of the three that I was torn between. So the three that I was torn between at the end was Masters of the Universe, Watchmen, and The Shadow.
Oh, The Shadow. How did I forget about The Shadow?
So the reason I didn't really bring it up on the main list is because I don't. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
You just opened a floodgate. Okay, it's only one movie right now, but
Phantom.
The Phantom with Billy Zane.
Yeah, that was another one that was on my list, but I didn't really know what I could talk about. And The Phantom was cool because it took place in it was a period movie, so it was made in the 90s, but it took place in the 40s,
the 30s and the 40s.
Yeah.
So they're even old school for comics.
Yes.
Before those movies come out. Yeah, so The Shadow with Alec Baldwin, I think it was.
The Shadow was Alec Baldwin.
And then, The Phantom was with Billy Zane and Elizabeth Shue, I think.
Yeah. So both worth checking out if they come across it. They're a lot of fun. They're, again, different than what we have now for superhero content. Shadow is very much neo-noir.
I think it was Christy Swanson.
I don't know. We'll look. I'm not going to do it on airtime because we're at the end.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. And that could be,
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the episode today. We are going to be watching Masters of the Universe for our next episode. We will see you all then. Take care.
Peace out.
Bye.
Schnugen.